What's your name?
Glenn, sir. Here from Oslo.
All right. And you?
Hi.
What is your name?
My name is Jen.
Take your mask down.
Take your mask down.
I will put your phone number up, and you'll get lots of boys calling you. What town are we in?
Here, sir, our barangay, sir, is Oslob, the town.
Also, it's still Oslo.
Still
Oslo.
The barangay, this one, sir, is Lagunde.
All right.
What's that, for a vlog or something?
Yeah, it's back.
Memories.
GoPro.
Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I am here in Oslob, famous for whale watching. And I'm at a Gaisano Grand. I'm stayed overnight at a resort, ABF Tourist Inn, I believe, in Santander, on the south end of Cebu Island. And I'm up here. I went in to buy another memory card. I've been running through memory cards pretty fast. I started off with a 128 gigabyte and filled that up in the first 2 days, and I bought another. There's one thing I found: I should have picked up cards when I was in Cebu City, because I'm finding that either they're out of stock or they don't have any of the higher speed cards that you should use in a GoPro camera or even in especially in a drone when you're doing 4K video. Which brings up another point. One of the things I wanted to think about, I almost bought a drone, but the one that I was thinking about is not available here yet, so hopefully it'll be available soon. And well, they had them available, and then they ran out of stock. That's the DJI Mini 3 Pro, I believe. It's got so many higher end capabilities that I think it's worth the extra money. And long term, it should last for a number of years. But I put off buying a drone because I'm thinking, will I really use it? And I guess my conclusion is I probably would use it, and it would force me to get out, motivate me, not force me, it would motivate me to get out more and do more of those types of videos. And anyway, this is day 5 of my trip. I'm driving around from Cebu City, started in Cebu City, and I'm going around the circumference of Cebu Island, trying to stay as close to the coast. Here's a sign, "Welcome to Alcoy." And my understanding is they've got a decent beach or two here. Although I did not see the sign, I did not do one of the many U-turns that I did to go check it out. Up the road a bit, Dalaguete, I think, has a decent beach and some resorts. And you just need to, if you're interested, just need to investigate those kind of things. There's so many things to see and do here. Up above Dalaguete and probably Alcoy too, there's big farming areas up there, and I really wanted to get up there, but I felt like I was. A couple things, like I've said before, when you travel, you need time, you need money, and you need energy.
Okay.
and I need fuel here.
It's called Amazing Philippines.
Oh, Amazing Philippines. Okay,
My YouTube channel.
Yeah, you need fuel for your body, fuel for your motorbike or vehicle. And day 5, I can tell you, I'm not going very far each day. Probably averaging 130 kilometers, something like that, a little over 100 miles. But well, even less than 100 miles. But energy-wise, even I've watched some of the vlogs, traveling vlogs of some real young folks also, and they say once or twice a week you need to stop and do nothing and just rest. And I can say that I am losing some of my motivation a little bit. I'm still having a good time, but it does take a certain amount of energy out of you. I will probably do a a summary video, some things I've learned about myself, about motorbike riding, about the Philippines over the course of 5 days. And this particular day, I was going to stop. I was going to make it a 6-day trip. And as I was just saying, I kind of run out of motivation. I get run out of motivation and energy. You know, I could have did it, but I wasn't that far. This last day going back into Cebu City, 140 kilometers, 87 miles, so it's not that far. Run into a lot of construction, which wasn't, in most cases, wasn't a big deal. Ran in, the closer I got to Cebu City, more traffic. When I got up into Minglanilla, Carcar, traffic got real heavy there, and there was a one-lane road. I think we sat and waited for 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, for all the traffic to come from one direction. Then we were allowed to go, and just a little bit of chaos, I would say, and heavy traffic, stop and go traffic. And, you know, I thought about getting a place, a pension house or something, and staying overnight and then going on early in the morning, but I pushed on through anyway. So I'm back. I'm recuperating for a couple of days from the minor accident I had the second day out. My rib feels better. It didn't bother me at all riding. Only when I would lay down to sleep it would be a little sore. Or if I put some pressure on it for some odd reason, I'd twist a certain way. But it feels better than it did a couple days ago. So that's good news. When I came to the Philippines, I did not have a lot of experience driving motorbikes. I've rented 3 here in the Philippines and gotten a little bit used to the smaller, the 125 scooters. This 250 Rusi, it's a bigger, heavier bike, and handles a little bit different, quite a bit different, actually. And I'm much more comfortable riding it. I was surprised how quickly. You know, when I learned to, I felt that I really had a slow start getting used to the motorbike, and I was not comfortable with it, and even a bit scared of it. That's, you know, your mental state is a big part of doing anything. Same thing happened when I learned to scuba dive several years ago up in Malapascua, on the upper end of Cebu Island. I wanted to do it, but part of me said I really didn't want to do it, and I kept forcing myself. And I've got friends who pulled out. In fact, one guy, he said he quit the last day. He was getting nosebleeds, and the trainer said, "I'll just take you out one more time and we'll finish this up." He said, "Nope, I'm done. I don't want to do it." And even the last dive I did, early in the morning, to go down to see the thresher sharks after I'd made several dives. Boy, I did not. I tried to talk myself out of it, but I forced myself to do it. Really glad that I did it. And with a bike too, it's a mental state. It's a mental state, getting your mind so that you feel you have certain control and ability. And of course, then you need the experience. Experience, of course, leads to another skill level. And this is one of my dozens. The reason I don't make very many miles or kilometers in a day, I do this a lot. I see a sign, I see a road, and I wonder what's down that road. And this is the case. And forget the name of the town. Maybe somebody along here knows what it is. But it looks like it goes down to a beach area, and we'll find out what it is. Turns out it's a new ferry, a place for ferries to come in, and they're doing a lot of that infrastructure over the years, and in the coming years they're building more airports, they're expanding airports, they're building new ferry ports, They are remodeling and expanding present ferry ports to handle larger vessels. This one is not open presently, but it will be. Now this, you'll see here in a bit, there was some damage from, I believe, Typhoon Odette back in December, middle of December of last year. And part of that pier area has been washed away, so they've got it closed off. No vehicles allowed out there. And I'm surprised 8 months later that they haven't done the repairs already. In fact, I'm surprised. School started here the other day in a lot of classes, and some of them have not, face-to-face classes. Some of them have not entirely opened up because repairs have not been done to the schools. 8 months later, and repairs have not been done to many of the schools yet, apparently. So they're saying, well, we don't have, our classes aren't ready. And that kind of boggles my mind, but that's the way things go. Anyway, I'm going to go down here. We're going to take a look underneath. And kind of where I'm standing, it's all been washed out. And I presume I don't know of any other big storms that would have done that. And you can see it right there, that dark spot right there in the center. That's all washed out. And then way out on the end also, a lot of that area is all washed out. So it's definitely needs some repairs. But that infrastructure has a lot to do with the budget and what happens when you shut down a country's economy for over 2 years. You don't have the revenue from the businesses, the tax revenue. You don't have revenue from the tourist industry. So your government revenue is, I'm guessing it's depleted unless you've got some huge stash someplace that you can use, or loans from other governments, grants from other governments. And so, in fact, there is a new freeway that they've started on to go around Cebu City from the very south. I think it starts down by, is it someplace south of Cebu City, Carcar maybe, further north than that. Goes around the foothills and goes back in, up in, hits the main road up in Compostela, the low and Compostela area, I think. And it's so that some of the traffic can bypass Cebu City. But I think the contractor, somebody, developer that was involved in it, said recently, a month or so ago, I read an article that at the rate we're getting the money, they'll get a certain amount of money. They'll use that money up, then they'll tell everybody, go home, we have to wait till we get more money to continue building. He made the statement that it'll take 7 years at the rate we're getting the money. I think since he made that public statement, I think they're sending the money to him more quickly. Hopefully they'll finish that in a couple of years instead of 7 years. But no, not only have these government revenues, economies been devastated by over 2 years of lockdowns, the livelihoods of millions and millions and millions of people around the world, and Filipinos here in the Philippines, of course. As I've stated in other videos, I've stopped at many resort areas, and the ones I've stayed at, basically I'm the only tourist there. So the place, and most of them aren't open. No, why, if you don't have customers, why would you be open? It costs money to have your place open. Even in Mole Bowl, very popular diving, snorkeling area, tourist area. Very few resorts open. Very few tourists there, and I'll do another video with a little bit about Mole Bowl in the coming days. Now, if you don't say Mole Bowl correctly, I understand it sounds like a bad word. People are always correcting me, looking at me funny when I try to say it. And I've had people try to correct me and tell me Mole Bowl, and I think I say it exactly like Filipinos do, but they look at me kind of funny, and I've got to say it like 5 times. before they understand what I'm saying. It's one of the issues in learning. You know, I didn't have too much difficulty learning a little bit of Spanish, and if they speak a Spanish word, trabajo, I can usually pick it up and I'll tell them, yeah, you're speaking Spanish. But Filipino languages tend to be a little bit tonal, and they've got different letters in their alphabet, different sounds in their alphabet than a lot of the English people, and so it is difficult. What I hear, I try to reproduce it. I think it's the same, but it's not. People don't understand. I've got a friend who was learning Bisaya, and I was at his birthday party a few years ago, and he was talking to some of the Filipino relatives. You could see by the look on their face, they had no idea what he was saying. Or I'll give him some credit. You know, he was trying a lot harder than I was, and maybe they kind of understood a little bit of what he was saying. I know. I'm passing on a bridge. Now this guy here is going to stop short on me up here, and he doesn't. I never saw any brake lights. All of a sudden, he's coming to a real fast stop here. And a lot of these bridges, that's what you see. You've got a real abrupt edge. And another reason why I won't drive at night. You know, people driving without lights. You got dogs and cats and chickens and just all kinds of obstacles. There's enough of them out there during the daytime. Abrupt edges when you change lanes, and you'll see that in some of the new construction up here. They've got a 4-lane road, but very abrupt, very dangerous edge going from one lane to the next. So one needs to be careful, and this is one of those construction. And a lot of times they don't have flaggers. They don't have anybody standing at one end or the other. Some places, if it's real long, they do. But a lot of places, the great majority of these types of areas, you know, I think they did have a flagger here. Stop one direction, and then is there a guy up here? Yeah, I think there's a guy right there. I think right here, stopping traffic from the other direction because it was a longer distance. But most of them shorter distances. There's nobody. You look down the road, and if somebody's coming, you wait, and then you go on down the road. Hopefully they wait. 2 motorcycles. The motorcycles, tricycles often will share the road if it's one lane going each direction. And it is very common, and people share the road here. Like vehicles coming is passing, because there's so many different speeds. You've got the tricycles and the bicycles and people walking, and the big trucks, the buses, the V-hire, the vans for hire. They're generally in a really big hurry, and you'll see them coming right at you in your lane, and you best slow down and or get over and share your lane with them. And that's the way we do things here. And if you don't accept that, you're going to be very stressed out. Now there are freeways up in the Metro Manila area. They continue to add freeways up there, and so it's a little bit different once you get on those roads. You know, in the U.S., if you go over the line, they got lane lines. Lane lines here are just a suggestion, if barely that. And in the U.S., in most states, if you go over a lane line, that's reason for a highway patrolman, a police officer to pull you over and say, hey, have you been drinking? And may even give you a ticket for not staying in your own lane. In the U.S., you've got local police, city police, you've got state police, you've got highway patrolmen, you've got a lot of unmarked cars anymore, and then you've got federal marshals and those types of things. I don't think they give out tickets, but they can call ahead to somebody else and say, hey, check out this vehicle. Driving erratically, well, here everybody drives erratically. That's the way it's done. It can drive you crazy. In fact, somebody should start a driving school. Lesson 1, how to drive erratically safely. How to safely drive erratically. Something like that. I think this off to the right, a number of places along here. I think they're big ponds, and I thought it was sewage treatment plant. Somebody told me it was, I don't know if they're growing, not fish ponds, I don't think. Some kind of sea life or something that, I don't know if they're farming it. Exactly what they're doing. Wasn't sewage treatment is what I was told. Someone will know and put the information in the comment section, I hope. I ran out of SD card data about the time I hit Minglanilla, which is on the south side of Cebu City, and there were times I wish I had some more data because the traffic was just crazy, and I wish I could got a little bit of video of that coming into town during rush hour. I think I got back before 5, a little bit before 5 o'clock, I think. Rush hour, my observation seems to start the heavier traffic usually around 3 in the afternoon. And careful there, he was going to do a U-turn, I think. Glad he looked. But it did get a little bit crazy from about Carcar in the south on north into Cebu City. But well, I was happy to get home, and it was fun to be out, and I really enjoyed the trip. What I want to do at some point in time is, because I did not explore much of the south area, I just drove straight through from Santander on the south. See, there goes one of those white vans, a V-Hire, I think, van for hire. Got 12 to 15 people in there, and they are always in a hurry. A bunch of tourists or family, whoever rents them out. Another guy getting ready to do a U-turn, glad he looked. The places I've stayed were all quiet. I got a really good night's sleep. That was nice. You know, if it was busy tourist season, they could have had all kinds of noise going on late at night, karaoke and who knows what else. But all the places, like I said, I was virtually the only tourist staying at these resorts that were open. And it was quiet, which I like. Quiet. My business in the U.S. for many years was noise control. The noise has always kind of bothered me. Now, one thing in the coming week, I think next weekend, I think there's a big, I don't know what they call it, a festival, something like that. They've got a lot of barangays from Cebu province in town. I think every day and night they're practicing. They've been practicing over. The stadium isn't very far from me. And things going on, and I think they're rehearsing for this weekend. So pretty much all night last night I slept pretty well through it because I was tired. And another one of those U-turns. Go check something else out here. Now this could have turned into another day. I saw a sign that really interested me. Fat Mexican Saloon. Now, how can you pass that up? My mouth started watering, thinking, good Mexican food. I had to stop. That could have turned into a whole nother day, whole nother adventure. And I went down here and came to a dead end. And I never did find the Fat Mexican Saloon. Now, if anybody knows where it's at, please tell me. I turned around down here and there was a lady walking down the street. And I asked her if she knew anything about it, and she didn't know anything about it. And she said, no, there's some places down here, I think houses down there for rent. down in that development. Down to the left here. And anyway, that was kind of frustrating. Get your hopes up for some good Mexican food, and can't find any. You know, a lot of people. My younger sister is like that. When she travels someplace, her and her family, they want to get to the destination, lay in the sun to get a tan, and read a book, read a good book. And I know other friends that getting to the destination as fast as possible, efficiently as possible, and enjoy the destination, wherever that might be. And for me, it's always been about the journey. Getting someplace is often much more fun, much more enjoyable, all the things you see and do along the way. And I've taken bus and ferry rides from Cebu City over to Bacolod, and of course you take a ferry across the water, and then you get on a bus on the land, and then the ferry back over to Iloilo. And that journey is much more interesting. You know, I enjoyed visiting Bacolod City and Iloilo City, but the journey is what I really enjoy. There's so many things. Even in the U.S., I tended to travel fairly large territories when I was in marketing and such, and very rarely flew. I drove anywhere from I did noise control in Texas all the way to California, and because there's customers in between where airplanes don't land, and there's so much to see. I am really interested in geology, geography, history of areas, and I subscribe to Audible.com, which is a book club. Amazon owns them now, but I download 2 books a month, and I can listen to hours and hours and hours of books going down the road, history, and just all sorts of different things that interest me. Anyway, this will end it. Not all these clips were definitely in chronological order, as GoPro kind of changes the numbering system occasionally. I'm not quite sure why or how they do that, so sometimes it's if you don't really remember. Anyway, stay safe, stay healthy. See you next time.